Hello Autowans and Autowans from around the globe. Today I'm going to come at you with a very exciting video. They've released more information about the October patch for Humankind. I'm first going to give you a synopsis of exactly what they said super quickly so you know exactly what's been going on. Then I'm going to take my years of software development experience, software engineering, and knowledge of Humankind, put it all together and make speculations about the changes that are coming. And I'm talking huge implications on gameplay here. And if you want to see similar content in the future, more information, Humankind tips, guides, etc., feel free to go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. I'm still a super small channel, but I post Humankind videos and other videos at least once a week. So let's get into this blog post. They definitely backload some of the more important stuff, so that's towards the end. They open with a paragraph about what they've already done. Now, what they've already done kind of splits into two parts, fixes and improvements. For the fixes, they detailed three main things: increases the amount of late-game resources, they allowed you to kind of reduce pollution, and they kind of tweaked that mechanic a little bit. They also fixed the problem with the naval assaults on cities that basically led to inaccessible island fortresses, which was pretty fun.
I am Yara Greyjoy, daughter of Balon Greyjoy, King of the Iron Islands.
Next, the improvements portion talked about a bunch of different things. They rearranged the surrender term screen. Basically, they overhauled the UI in this. Coincidentally, it was like 2 days after I released my complete guide to combat, explaining why that screen was bad. They made improvements to the AI, so the pathfinding's better. How it handles armies and different battles and things like that is a little bit better, which is good. It's not something easy to do. They added better validation tools for the map editor, and they're working hard to improve stability and performance. Basically, those bugs that you're reporting, they're working on addressing them. The next section talked about the ongoing work that was happening. They mentioned that they're hearing us, they're reading the forums, they're reading the blogs, they're on Games Together, they're on Reddit, they're watching. They didn't really say Reddit, but they're watching the conversations kind of play out. They know about Neolithic population growth issues. Wonder where they found that one out. They mentioned tweaks to cultures in order to balance them, and specifically they mentioned affinities here. They mentioned line of sight and unit balance, basically these mechanics related to battle. They talked about religion a little bit, and then they just plain old talked about quality of life stuff, like introducing a new game lobby, which I'm sure everyone's pretty excited about. They emphasized here that one of their top priorities was the game crashes and the endless stuck on turn pending. Finally, they ended the paragraph off like a good Canadian would, saying sorry, eh? They mentioned there's going to be a delay to the Mac release, and there's a ton of different problems, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later with my software experience. The next topic they talk about is they kind of allude to future releases. They mentioned they want to expand on different areas. They feel they have these mechanics, but they're not fully developed, right? They want to expand on religion, diplomacy, cultural influence, and pollution. They also talk about keeping a keen eye on what's important to players. So what you're posting about on Games Together, or the rage you're getting out on Reddit for that sweet, sweet karma, they're watching that. Last but not least, they bring up the update. This is what you're all here for. And I want to say that they mentioned they're going to be releasing more details in the next few days. They also usually release the beta on Steam a little bit early. So as soon as that comes out, I'm going to be playing it and making videos on it and disseminating the information to you. In the update section, they mentioned three things: new settings for resource abundance and end conditions. They mentioned addressing the game's rapid increase in pace towards the mid to late game. And they also talk about cultural balance as well. So that's been the no BS synopsis of everything they released. Now let's get into the thick of it with kind of my speculation coupled with my knowledge of the game, knowledge of the community, and software development experience. And I'll start with the most important stuff, the update. Before we get into anything, I'm going to say this. My guess for this patch is going to be a 50-50 split. They're going to be putting 50% of their effort into fixing bugs and patching things. They're also going to be using this kind of 50% for improvements, like to the UI, for example. Things that are really easy to do, and then they can kind of just bang out and improve the quality of life. I'm almost positive about 50% of their efforts can be focused on that. The other 50%, I would hazard a guess, is going to be improvements, changes, or tweaks to the current mechanics or the current cultures. So let's talk about what's involved in that, and it's mostly the 3 points we just mentioned. They talk about new settings for resource abundance and end conditions. This is probably the least interesting one. So I gotta give a shout out to my fellow Redditors. Basically, I'm sure they saw so many people complaining about this. In the next update, there's just gonna be a setting that says pollution end condition, and you're going to be able to set it to no. This is definitely something that's totally doable within the 2 months since this has been posted. For example, somebody could have gone in, just removed the references to the pollution classes and things like that, made modifications to the UI or tooltips. It would have been doable in this period of time with the resources they have. Welshman guaranteed this one's going to be related to pollution, but feel free to call me out on it if it doesn't. The other two that are kind of intertwined and more interesting in my opinion are the game's rapid increase in pace as well as the cultural balances. It seems to me that the builder affinities and the scientific affinities seem to do pretty well. This is not in all games, don't take this as a blanket statement. The speed in the late game comes from two places, right? Number one, you rush fusion reactors. You don't even think about it, you get here, there's no prerequisite to this tech, you slide all the way down and grab fusion reactors. So I'm willing to bet here that they're going to put a nice little line here, basically saying you got to get a ton of text before you get this one. That's going to be one way they're going to slow it down. But the second way they're going to slow it down comes back to that cultural balance. Think about how most people snowball in this game. They take a lot of builder affinities early on, or at least one. They put that land razors on, and they really put emphasis on boosting their FIMs. They put makers quarters down, they put market quarters down, they get adjacency bonuses, they really invest in infrastructure to make those yields even better. And then what they do is in the late game, I'm gonna grab the French maybe. Maybe I'll grab, the Swedes or the Japanese. Maybe, I don't know. And as soon as they get there, they slap that collective minds button. In my opinion, these are the two major things that are gonna happen. They're gonna make changes to the tech tree, I have a feeling. They're also gonna make changes to this land razors and collective minds. Either that, or they're going to boost up the other affinities so that they're on par with the ability here. Okay, so some of the things they mentioned they're working on but haven't been able to finish yet are the Mac release and the endless stuck turns. And I'll tell you, from having spent X number of years in the tech field, having a degree in tech, having worked with hundreds, if not thousands of different companies, there's a lot of companies that don't even factor in the need for Linux or Unix systems and don't hire people accordingly. Now, as you know, Mac is built on a Unix kernel. So I can only imagine the trouble they're having porting this Windows game to a Unix kernel. It must be a bloody nightmare. Nightmare. And I can understand why it's taking so long. So I'm sure it's coming in one of the releases. They're asking for your patience, and I would give it to them if I was a Mac user. So they also mentioned the endless stuck turns and the game crashes. Now, it's probably they have some thread that's becoming orphaned somewhere or something to that effect. And the problem with it is that it's not just one thing causing it. If they could pinpoint one situation where that's happening, they would resolve it right away. There would be no question. But I think what we've seen is a kind of substantial increase in the stability of the game because they're slowly knocking off the causes one at a time. Now, how they're triaging it, if they're triaging it by most common occurrences of the crash, are they triaging the easiest and trying to knock off as many as possible? We don't know. And that pretty much wraps up the October update release from today. Now, again, like I mentioned, they're going to be releasing the beta soon. They're going to be releasing more information as the days roll by. I'm tuned in, I'm plugged in, I'm connected on Twitter, I'm following the forums, I'm reading what you guys have to say so that I can make content about it. So if you want to know more about these patches, go ahead and follow me, because I'll be releasing more videos as soon as it's available on Steam with all the details you need to know to make sure you don't fall behind in your Humankind gameplay. As always, a huge thank you for anyone that's watched. If you like what you saw, I'm still a super small channel, so a subscription and kind of coming back and tuning in again really, really helps. And I have great news for you. If you got some more free time, I found these great videos on screen right now that you're going to love. Take a look.